rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. And tonight I've got a very special guest. This is the first time he and I have talked, so this is going to be just off the hook anywhere we need to go, I guess. Anyway, he seems to be a really nice guy. He is the host of The Hot Seat here on Rumble. And he also is connected to a group called Dear America. So anyway, we're going to bring him on in just a few minutes. Let's see. Okay. Anyway, I have no idea what's going on. Apparently my Rumblers are saying that there was still getting some music and stuff. I don't know why, but yeah, so I'm trying a new way through Rumble Studio on this thing, and so yeah, we'll see what happens with all of this. We'll see what plays. Rumble was funky a little bit when I came on board, but anyway, we'll keep it going and give it a shot. All right, let's go ahead and let's have Amy of Rumbleland to recite the Pledge of Allegiance for us. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat, if you're wearing one like me, and place your hand over your heart. And of course, let's go ahead and listen to Amy recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, Amy, for that wonderful rendition. If you would like to get your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is, wait a minute. I see what's going on here. Ha. Well, that's quite interesting. All right, there we go. Now we should get everybody live over on Rumble Land. Oh, this Rumble Studio thing is kind of throwing me off. I'm just now trying it, so Todd's probably sitting over there in the studio laughing because he's not. Yeah. Anyway, so there we go. You guys should see me now. I'm hoping. Come on. Got to catch up here. I want to make sure this is... Yeah, this is really, really strange that it's not... Well, I hate these technical things going on here. There we go. Now I see it. Now I see myself, which is good. Okay. You guys, Rumblers, do you see me? Do you hear me? We got to wait a minute or second or two for that to show up. Okay, I am now. All right. Well, like I said, that was my problem, not your guys's. Okay. So here we go, folks. You know what? I'm going to throw the spot away for now because I've already wasted this man's precious time long enough. So let me go ahead and introduce to you a man, and some of you guys over on Rumble have missed all of this. So let me go ahead and introduce him to you. His name is Todd Spears. He is the host of The Hot Seat. It's a fantastic show on Rumble. He's also a member of Dear America Media. And well, let's just say I am happy to have him here on the program. We're going to have a little discussion, back and forth first. And we'll just kind of, we'll wing it. We'll see what happens here. So let me go ahead and bring Todd into the program. There you are, sir. Hello? Oh, something has happened here. What has happened? Why do I not hear you? Why do I not hear you? Oh, wait. What in the heck? Hold on. Let's see. Microphone is going to be that. And speaker. Boy, I have no idea what the heck happened. You hear me now?
Oh, I hear you just fine.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't know what happened. I think it's something I had to deal with. Anyway, okay. Just so you know, Todd, normally I don't stream through Rumble Studio. I tried it out. I've been trying it out this week, and apparently I've been having some technical challenges with it. Trying to get it to all work, but anyway. All right. Okay. So it looks like everything.
Can the audience or anybody else hear me?
They should. It looks like we hear you now. It's what I'm hearing or what I'm seeing in the chat.
Well, great.
So I think we got everybody.
Sweet.
All right. So first of all, welcome to the program, sir.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
I appreciate your time.
No problem.
This kind of got tossed together really, really quick, folks.
Yeah, that was my fault.
Well, it is what it is. But anyway, so I just wanted to bring you on the program here, of course, for a couple of different reasons. One is you're an interesting guy.
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, no, I would. But that's number one. Number two, of course, is that, hey, I got to get practice for interviewing people, you know? So
yeah, I understand that.
All right. So first of all, let's go back a little bit. I understand that you are retired from the Army.
I am.
First, how long were you in?
I made it to 17 years and 7 months.
17 and 7. All right.
Yeah. Active duty. I did over 20 years. Like I was in the guard, but I was active duty guard for the majority of my career.
Okay.
So yeah, they medically retired me with, about 5 months to go until I hit my 18 stabilization.
Okay. All right. And I understand from your show that you were a recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you a recruiter for?
About 10 years.
Okay. All right. So about 10 of those. What did you do before or after?
Well, throughout my military career, I started off being a medic. Then I transitioned to infantry. And, nobody wants to recruit when you're in the Army. Nobody wants to do it. I mean, it's a sucky job. But once they find out that you're good at it, they're like, you're staying there. Like you're going to do that forever. And that's just kind of how it works.
Yeah. My stepdad was in the Army for 22 years and he also was a recruiter. So
nice. Very nice.
But
and to the chat, Roll Tide. I see a lot of Roll Tides in the chat. I like it.
All right. There you go. Okay, so after you got done with the service, now you said earlier today on your program, I was listening, you retired under Trump. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I did.
All right. So you're not that far out from being on it, right? Or from being in the service.
No, not that far. September 11th of 2018 was my retirement date.
Okay. Okay. And you obviously, did you go in because of September 11th?
No. I joined the Army way before 9/11. I joined in 99. So there was no 9/11, no terrorist attacks or nothing. And just to be honest, and I tell this story to everybody that'll listen. I come from a very small town in the state of Mississippi. I was the oldest of 4 kids. And the only way that I was going to go to college is if the military was going to pay for it, if I got an academic scholarship. And, the academic scholarship wasn't going to happen because I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So I had to figure out another way.
Oh, I don't know about that. I've listened to you on your show, and I don't quite agree with your assessment of yourself.
Well,
but that's okay.
I get lucky sometimes. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Oh man, I love your accent. I spent a lot of time in the South both in work. And then, of course, I am also Army as well. Served
Nice.
from 1990 to 1994.
Sweet.
Didn't see anything in terms of, combat or anything. I spent all 4 years at Fort Hood, Texas.
Oh,
So-
very nice. My first deployment was with the 4th ID out of Fort Hood, so
Oh.
I know all about that.
Yeah, I was a signals guy.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, 13th Signal Battalion, which is, of course, defunct now.
It's a 25 now. It's a 25 series now, I think.
Yeah, they got rid of us, and I guess, or got rid of the unit and reformed and did all that fun stuff. But anyway, that's the way the Army works. They
Mm-hmm.
change stuff around. All right. So after your service,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what did you do after that?
Well, after my service, I spent a little bit of time, honestly, because I wasn't expecting my military career to get cut the way it did. So, it's really hard for service members, because you understand I joined when I was a junior in high school, and that's the only thing I'd ever known. So it was very difficult for me to transition that to a civilian job. So I spent a lot of time trying to find, what can I do, whether it be the medical route or, the recruiting route, or use my education, because I did receive my bachelor's degree when I was in the Army. And recruiters tell people all the time, well, you'll get hired because of your military training and military experience. That's bullshit. I mean, nobody hires you based on military experience. They just don't. You got to have education and experience to go with it. So I ended up working for the Air Force. Became a government employee working for the Air Force for a couple years. And then my father owns an air conditioning company here in the state of Mississippi. And, the family business, he's been doing it since 1992. And I helped him. I joined his company to try to help him get to, the technology, because he's still doing things by word of mouth and shaking hands, and no internet, no social media and stuff like that. So I worked for him for a little while, just, kind of odds and ends jobs, until Graham called me one day and asked me to come, be a member of the Dear America Network. And here I am.
Okay, so that is a great segue. You set me up perfect for it. How do you know Graham Allen?
Oh my God. I have known Graham, which, I'm a few years older than Graham. I've known Graham since he was probably 8 years old. Me and Graham are from the same small town in Mississippi. The name of the town's Caledonia. And we met a long time ago. I think I was probably, 12 or something like that. He was 8. And then we actually reconnected when I was 19 or 20. I returned home from my first deployment to Iraq in 2004. And he was a junior or a senior in high school. And he was actually dating my sister. And I never will forget it. I walked into my grandparents' house, and to see my sister for the first time since I got home from my deployment, and Graham is sitting at he's literally sitting at my grandparents' table. And of course, me being the big brother, I was like, who the hell is this guy? Mm-hmm. And my sister said, oh, that's my boyfriend. I said, no, I didn't approve of that. That's definitely not your boyfriend. But, we became really good friends after that. And, we stayed connected. He ended up joining the Army, not too long after that. Then I moved on. My duty station changed. I went from North Carolina to South Mississippi and back and forth. And we ended up actually recruiting together in the county that we're from. And that's when he became the Graham Allen that everybody knows. And he went off and became famous. And that's pretty much the end of his story. He asked me to go with him, asked me to do all of this stuff with him. But at that point, I was well past, my 10, 12, 13 year career. And I said, dude, I'm not going anywhere. I'm about to retire. I'm not giving that up. But he burned the boats, and he did it and became famous, and now he's working at the DOD. And I had to stay patient, but here we are now that I'm, with Chad Prather and Tony and Royce taking up the mantle for Dear America while he's gone.
All right. So talk about Dear America. What is Dear America? And, just tell us all about it.
Well, Dear America, I've been a part of it for going on 2 years now. When I first started, it was me, Graham, and producer Zach, and we've had a little bit of changeover, but now that Graham has transitioned and moved to working PR for the Department of Defense under Secretary Pete Hegseth, we have Chad Prather as our host, and I'm the co-host of Dear America, along with Tony and Royce as well as our producer. And it's a network. Like right now, you've got, you can catch Dear America at which I live on God's time, which is Central. So it's 8 o'clock God's time. And then you can catch Chad Prather at 1 o'clock, me at 3 o'clock. Then you have Brianna Morello streams on our channel from time to time. And Meggie Moo 32 or Megan Duthu, who I call Count Dooku. And then later on Fridays and Friday nights and late Wednesday nights, we just added the guys from I Came With Fire podcast to the Dear America Network. So we're adding people to the conservative network, and that's the thing that I've always wanted to do. Mm-hmm. One thing that was a massive eye opener for me when I got into this world, and understand I'm still very young and immature when it comes to the conservative movement. It's not what you think it is. Everybody's out for themselves. Everybody wants to make their own money. Nobody wants to help anybody. Nobody wants to, lift anybody up. And I'm just not like that. If I have a like-minded individual or people who believe in the same cause that I do, like the I Came With Fire guys and Megan, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they're successful, because if they're successful, then I'm successful. And that's what we should be doing here.
Yep, absolutely. And I agree with you as well, which is part of the reason why I've tried to partner with some people in the past. Hasn't worked out. But definitely, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm trying to make this a career change for myself. But the reality of it is that, I still got my 9 to 5 that I've got to do and all of that stuff. So that's why sometimes I miss your shows and stuff. So let's kind of slide on over to the hot seat. Where did that come from? What's your envision for it? And, take it from there.
Well, my thing is with my program, The Hot Seat, it's what I wanted to make sure was that my audience had something different than, you've got Dear America, then you have Chad, and you've got Brianna, and then me. And the thing about it is, and you'll understand this, is I just didn't want everybody to have the same news, talking about the same thing, doing the same thing, the same opinions. It just, honestly, it gets boring. Like, I don't understand. My grandmother did it for years, watching Fox News for 12 hours a day. It makes you want to jump out of the tallest window of a building. And so my thing was, and what I pushed for, is to try to find a way to get the audience as a part of my show. So for me, The Hot Seat, we have a call-in feature. I literally broadcast a 1-800 number during my show. That way I can interact with the people who watch me, and me personally. I don't think that I have fans. I don't think that I have followers. I have family and I have friends. And that's the way I treat the people who watch me. That's the way I treat the people who follow me on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok, Facebook, or whatever. Mm-hmm. I try to be the same person behind this stupid little microphone as I am outside of this microphone in my community. And it has served me well. So I do about 10 or 15 minutes of, politics and talking and going through things. And then I open up the phone lines and, and we have like legit conversations, and people send me emails, and I go through those emails and try to help as many people as I possibly can, whether it be a religious thing or, advice or how I would handle a certain situation. Because the way I look at it and the way I tell my friends and my family during my show is, I don't care if there's, 40 people, 400 people, 4,000 people, or 4 million people watching me. If I can help one person during my stream, then my stream is a success. And that's just the way that I look at it. And that's the way I look at life.
So did you start off with that idea, or did that just sort of develop out of time?
Well, no, that is something I've always wanted to do. Rumble, actually, in Rumble Studios, they offer a call-in feature on Rumble Studio. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that, and I reached out to Rumble and I said, hey, when I log into my Rumble Studio, I'm not seeing that feature. And of course, they emailed me and they said, well, it's a beta test, not many people have it, and yada, yada, yada. And I said, well, I don't have it. I don't see anybody else using it on their streams, because I watch a lot of shows on Rumble,
right?
And I said, I don't see anybody else doing that. So how about give it to me, because I want to make that a big part, if not the part of my program. Mm-hmm. And I never heard any, not knocking Rumble, because Rumble's amazing, don't get me wrong, but didn't hear anything back. And I figured it out myself. And I told Graham and Chad, I said, look, and a lot of you rednecks will get this, I want to be the Paul Feinbaum of the Dear America Network.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Well, so how long have you actually been doing this streaming stuff?
Woo, not long. I joined Dear America in October, probably 2 years ago. And that's the thing that blows my mind with this is a lot of people gravitated to me like really quick. And I gained a massive following very fast. And I will tell you, I'm just one of the lucky ones. And I think it's honestly, it's because I'm just a genuine person. Like, what you see is what you get. Like, I don't sugarcoat stuff. Right. I don't beat around the bush. I tell you how it is. And I'm the same person. And fortunately for me, I have a wife that checks my ego at the door. And at any time, if she feels like I'm not being the same Todd off camera as I am on camera, she checks me like really, really hard when it comes to that stuff. So like with me, it doesn't matter if I'm behind this microphone or if I'm sitting next to you at a bar, I'm the same person.
Right. Right. Well, I've got a couple more years on the streaming experience than you. I'm coming into my 5th year in April, but obviously I'm behind the times, or behind you in terms of exposure for sure. So,
yeah,
but that's cool. I mean, that's to each his own. And like you said, this space, realistically is just, it's fairly new. In the grand scheme of things, we are now taking over as being the media, okay? Because of the fact that the mainstream media decided to take a hard left and just, go off into La La Land or whatever and start telling us whatever propaganda the folks wanted us to hear. So, I look at it as pretty much anybody that kind of wants to get behind a microphone, you've got something to offer to anybody. And so, you just got to find that little niche. You got to find that little thing that makes you unique. And you've done it with the phone number, with your, I hate to say it, but your accent, your attitude, everything that you got going on.
No, I will tell you, it has nothing to do. The skills you get along the way, learning the soundboards and the cameras and, the producing and things like that. That's stuff you gain along the way. I was just honestly, I was fortunate that I literally grew up in the same town as Graham. Mm-hmm. And, he wanted a piece of me for a very long time. It's just I wanted to finish out my military career. I I'm very fortunate. You know, there's a lot of people out there that do this job that stream and you know, they don't get a massive following and they have a great product. It's just there are a few of us out there that honestly we're just lucky. And I will tell everybody, I'm just really lucky that, I mean, I linked up with Graham Allen and Chad Prather, and I'm really, really fortunate to be behind two massive powerhouses like that. And so it just worked out in my benefit.
All right. Well, obviously you've done a really nice job with it. Like I said, I've listened to a few of your shows, your podcasts, and that kind of thing. I got to give credit where credit is due to one of my, I call them my Whiskey Warriors. You've got your Hot Seat Mafia. I got the Whiskey Warriors. But one of my folks out there, one of my Whiskey Warrior P1s, Bonnie, she's the one that actually turned me on to you. So, you know, good job to Bonnie for that.
Thank you, Bonnie. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, she's her screen name is B Patrick 1369.
I knew that's who. Yep. I knew it. I absolutely knew it. Thank you, B Patrick. That's you know, the thing with me, man, is like you always wonder is what I'm doing, does it make a difference? Mm-hmm. I can sit here and talk politics all day long. The truth be told, I don't even like politics. I don't. I really don't.
People do.
I am invested in eternal decisions. I'm invested in changing lives. And anytime that I can help, anytime I can do that, the message for me is I just want to know what I do matters. Mm-hmm. And that's all that matters to me. And I really mean that. Like, regardless if, you know, there's 1,000 people watching me or 10, as long as I'm engaged with those individuals and I'm actually making a difference in the lives of somebody, I'll do this until I'm, you know, 80 years old. I don't care.
Yeah, I agree with you. Totally. So I've got a question for you because I'm married.
Yeah. And
my wife, was a little skeptical getting into the streaming space. Was Kendra the same way?
In the beginning, like when I first started this with Graham, you know, she was very skeptical of it. But when she saw the change that it made for other people and who I was able to, you know, touch on an emotional and a spiritual level, it was really easy for her to jump in on my show for like Wifey Wednesdays, because me and her are very like-minded in that, you know, we have a blended family. We've both been divorced. We're remarried. And the fact that we can get on here, be vulnerable with people and talk about our struggles and just be very blunt about, you know, our strengths, our weaknesses, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and just give somebody or some people nuggets. Hey, you might want to try this. Hey, you're doing this, but you may want to try this. This worked for us. As soon as she got a little bit of taste of, hey, thank you so much, you know, Kendra, for being vulnerable about this. I tried this with my husband, or I tried this with my wife, and this absolutely worked for us. Thank you so much. After that, it's been smooth sailing after that.
Yeah. Well, my very first show that I watched with you was Wifey Wednesday, and I went back to Bonnie and I was like, is this his usual fare? You know, is this something usual that he does? And she was like, oh, no. She goes, you got to come back on one of the other regular days too, so you can kind of see the difference. But yeah, I watched and Kendra's really nice. You guys are both really nice. You play off each other quite well. Yeah, I admire her bravery for coming on the show.
Yeah, so. She does. You know, anybody, and I say it all the time on my show, like, she deserves a medal for having to put up with me Because I mean, you know as well as I do, and it's probably more difficult for you because you have a normal job, but people only see us when we're behind a camera.
Mhm.
But we're sitting on the couch watching TV, and I'm sitting here like this. I'm looking at screens and looking at the news and trying to figure out what I'm talking about tomorrow and the next day and the next day, and prepping guests for the following show and trying to get audio up for our RSS feeds. I mean, this is a full-time job in itself. If you do it right, I mean, you can spend 14 hours to 15 hours a day producing content. So no, my wife deserves a absolute medal for dealing with me.
Oh yeah, no, I totally, I can preach, brother. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you.
I mean, there's times where I go through and I have to kind of curate the things because, my show covers a lot more current events than yours. I mean, obviously I don't open up the phone lines, which we'll get to in just a minute, by the way. But I don't open up the phone lines. I do have a phone line, but I don't open up the phone lines. And anyway, it's just, yeah, it's kind of, it's a labor of love, really. It's a labor of love.
Oh, it absolutely is.
So you kind of have to like doing this kind of thing in order to get things, in order to stay in it. A buddy of mine that he ended up doing this for his job. He actually set up a network as well. But his is all about his network's all about like helping businesses learn how to use streaming to do marketing. So he's more of a marketing kind of individual. But I talked to him before getting into this, and he told me, he's like, whatever you do, just remember, it's the long game. You got to be in it
Absolutely.
for a long time.
Yes, it is.
You cannot be here. You can't just expect overnight success. He says, and he also told me, he's like, you do not know what the audience is going to like. So, just be in it for the long haul, get used to it. There's going to be times where you're going to screw up. There's going to be times where, things are going to go absolutely fantastic. And yeah, so.
Well, that's the fun part for me about being live is, I mean, when we're on Dear America, people, anytime something goes wrong, the entire audience blames me, regardless if it's my fault or not. They call it, we say, oh my God, technical difficulties. That's just the fun. That's the fun of being live right there, is you're showing your humanity. You're showing, hey, I'm not perfect. And that's, for me, that's the fun of it right there.
Yep. Well, a long time ago, I tried doing the recording thing, and I just can't. I can't do it.
It's forced. It feels forced.
Yep, absolutely. And especially if you're sitting there trying to like read a script, it just doesn't sound natural to me. It just doesn't sound natural.
I agree. And that's that's one thing that really surprised my wife, Kendra, is I'll get done with the show and she'll go, that open monologue and that closing, like, were you reading something? I'm like, no. It's just right off the top of my head. The trick is to speak from your heart, to be honest, to be open. And if you do that, like, you'll never go wrong. Like, you'll never go wrong. Even, and I see people in the chat talking about Trent. That's the thing about what you got to be careful if you open up phone lines is everybody that calls, they're prepped for you. They're ready for you. They have their notes. They know what they want to talk about. And I'm having to go straight off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. But if you speak from your heart and you don't lie, I tell people all the time, I don't know anything about that, but I promise you I'll research it and I'll talk about it tomorrow, because I don't want to just sit here and BS about a whole bunch of topics that I know nothing about.
Yep.
So as long as you're honest with your audience and you're honest with yourself, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, well, it's definitely, I mean, I'm the same way. I tell my listeners all the time, it's like, this is who I am. This is who I am. I'm the same guy. I'm the same person, no matter what. All right. So Trent, how did he come about
I really don't know. He popped up one day in the Dear America chat, and again, I got, you know, I I got popped by one of my family, my friends, in the chat saying that, you don't need to block this guy because, it's violating his First Amendment, and we don't want to cancel people and stuff, which I understand and I do agree with.
Mm.
But it started with like he was spamming the chat, and that's all new to me. It's basically he would write a book and he would copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste.
Right.
And the thing about my show is in the chat, I might be talking about the military and people are having family conversations in the chat, which I'm 100% okay with because we are a family. That's what we do. And when you spam the chat like that, you prevent people from having those genuine connections.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time he called, he said that he was a vice president of some company or something like that. He was a registered GOP, and then he wanted to talk about Pete Hegseth. And of course, me being a prior member of the military, I smashed him. And then, a couple days, the day later, he called back and said that he was a small business owner. And then the next day, he was a soccer referee and Division II umpire and all this stuff. But it's the last time me and Trent had the conversation, I basically told him, I said, look, dude, you say you're a registered GOP. Did you vote for Kamala?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, yeah, of course I did. I said, well, then we really don't have nothing else to talk about because you're on your side. I'm on mine. Obviously, I'm not going to convince you. You're definitely not going to convince me.
Right.
So there's no need for this back and forth. And at this point, I hate to use the word troll, but at this point, you're just trying to get attention. And so there's really no need for me and you to communicate anymore. And,
Right.
of course, he knew I was from Mississippi and he called me a simpleton. And I am, I am a simpleton when it comes to these things. I use biblical references and basic logic to make my decisions. I don't get into the weeds of, well, this means this and this means this and this will affect the economy like this. I don't get into that.
Right.
I'm a very black and white individual. There's really not a whole lot of gray area when it comes to me. And but the fact that he said he was a registered GOP, but he hates Pete Hegseth, he hates JD Vance, he hates Donald Trump, and I was like, what's the alternative? In a perfect world, what's your alternative?
Right.
And he said, well, Kamala Harris. I was like, well, then there's no need for me and you to have a conversation ever again. And so he has left my channel. But he's jumped in Megan's channel. He's jumped in the I Came With Fire channel. But I just find it hilarious that every time I have a guest on my show, he won't call. He only calls when it's just me. So I don't know. I mean, maybe he likes me. I guess. I don't know.
Well, for the record, you're definitely more than what you say you are in terms of being a simpleton. I mean, haven't really talked to you that much. I mean, obviously this is our first time talking, virtually face to face anyway, but, yeah, from what I can tell, from what I've seen on your show and that kind of stuff, you are not what you say you are. I'm sorry. But anyway.
Well, I do appreciate that. I even though I am a simpleton, I do consider myself to be and when I say simpleton, I don't mean like I'm not an idiot. I'm not unintelligent in any sense of the word. I look at life very simple. The politics of our country is really simple if you really look at it. This is the battle between literally good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think a man can get pregnant? Well, that's pretty simple. Do you think women should murder babies? Well, that's pretty simple.
Right.
That's why I call myself a simpleton. And I think if we all take the simplistic approach to politics, then our country would be better for it.
Yeah, well, some of the smartest people I've ever met in terms of not like you said, not necessarily book smart, but some of the smartest people that I've ever met have come from places like yours, the small towns, the backwoods, the places where life breaks down pretty easily one way or the other. So,
yeah. But I mean, you need those people like Trent. I mean, you really do. You need them. It makes for a good stream. I mean, it really does. It's unfortunate, and yeah, he does really make me lean into my relationship with Jesus and my Christian faith. He really tests me in that, but you need that.
So let's talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Do you see, because for a while there, like over the course of the last 4 years, there was some questions, at least in my mind, as to whether or not the country itself was going to be able to reverse course in particularly in the spiritual realm. From where you sit today, do you feel as though that is occurring? Number one, and whether or not it's going to, do you think it's actually going to continue? Because, and the reason I ask that question, just to kind of hold your answer for a second, but the reason I ask that question is things like the prayer during Trump's cabinet meeting. He started it off with a prayer, and you haven't seen that happen in recent years. With our politicians and stuff. Same thing, Mike Johnson, when he became Speaker of the House, one of the first things he did is he held a prayer session down on the floor of the House. Do you feel as though America might be starting to get back to her Judeo-Christian roots?
No, not at all. And there's a reason for it. Actually, there's two pieces that look like I gave the middle finger. I did.
Yep.
I did this. There's two reasons behind why I have that opinion. Number one, regardless, I have a degree in theology. Regardless of what you believe, there's no mention of America in the Bible whatsoever. No mention of us at all. So I think at some point there's going to be a desolate destruction of our country, and it's going to happen from within. Like, I don't think we're going to be attacked by Russia or ISIS or Al Qaeda or anything like that. I think we're going to do it to ourselves. Number two is we're never going to be what we used to be, simply because the divide is always going to be there. We're not having political discussions anymore. The arguments between the left and right are no longer about the economy. They're no longer about taxes or anything like that. It's literally good versus evil. Like, should men be allowed to play in women's sports? Should men be allowed to go into your wife's bathroom? Should people be allowed to kill babies? Should a man be allowed to dress up as a woman and read books to children? Should pornography in book form be allowed to be read by elementary students? That there is no middle ground with those conversations. It's either a yes or a no. And so I just don't see a future where we bring the country back to that. There's always going to be a division because we're having moral arguments. I mean, my God, man, you literally had a woman that went viral for sleeping with 1,000 men in 24 hours. Like, I mean, when have you ever thought? I'm 42 years old. I never thought that would even be physically possible, but we're celebrating those things now. So I think the division is so far gone because it's a morality problem. It's not a political problem anymore.
Okay. That kind of makes sense. I mean, in the long run, yeah, well, I know as well as you that, we have our time, because eventually this world ends. we already know biblically speaking, we already know the ending. We already know the final result.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not as though any of this really, to anyone who, studies the Bible and, or at least has been exposed to it in any way, shape or form, should be surprised about some of the things that are happening in our world today. I was just curious as to whether or not you felt as though maybe it was staved off a little bit in terms of the changing. So,
well, I mean, the thing about it is, man, is, the thing I take comfort in is, not even the angels in heaven know, not even Jesus knows. Nobody knows the hour or the date or the time. Hopefully the Lord gives me a little bit more time with my kids. Hopefully he gives me a little bit more time to see my grandkids. But at the end of the day, it's his will. It's not mine. And I can take comfort in that. Paul was very clear. He said to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. So I'm, whatever the good Lord decides to do, I'm down for it.
Right. Sounds good. Well, speaking of depravity, just in the way that the world is going, you broadcasted Chad Prather's review of the Epstein folder.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
I just saw this article in Blaze Media where apparently the FBI in New York is, according to AG Bondi, is buried in, quote, thousands of pages of Epstein secrets. What are your thoughts on this whole Epstein files? And just to kind of preface this, I haven't been very confident in the fact that any of this stuff is really going to be exposed.
Yeah, my issue with this right now is the word transparency. Pamela Bondi, the Attorney General, said this past weekend at CPAC that the Epstein files they're sitting on her desk awaiting review. All right, well, why do you need to review them? That's not transparency. And again, did I vote for Donald Trump? Yeah, and if the election was tomorrow, I'd vote for him again. But when you have a president in Donald Trump that ran on releasing JFK, MLK, RFK, the Diddy list, the Epstein list, and you had a person in Kash Patel that said, I will release that within 24 hours of being confirmed. And here we are. Mm-hmm. Now, I would stress, after talking with Chad and seeing what I did stream on my show today, Chad was really clear and he said, be patient. It's coming. It's just they've got a lot of things working, and who knows? I got to thinking about this after my show is maybe, and fingers crossed, they announced that they were going to do this and they sat back and they waited to see who was going to try to hide certain files and do certain things and look at keystrokes and to get the actual corruption that is in those 3-letter organizations. Maybe that's it. But I got to be honest, I don't like the way this is headed, whether it's the JFK, MLK, RFK, Epstein's list, Diddy's list, anything like that. That's the one thing the government is good at, is covering its tracks. But this is a problem that Donald Trump has inherited, and he's got to make good on it. When you run on this promise, you got to make good on it. So, and for me, I don't care who's on this list. I don't. Conservative, Democrat, liberal, Republican, preacher, athlete, singer, I don't care. I want to know. I want to know. And I don't care what it does to the country. I don't care if it cripples the economy. I would rather America go bankrupt and at least know that the pedophiles are in jail, because that's one thing for me personally that there's no coming back from that. The second that you start messing with children, I'm out.
Yep.
I'm out. There's no forgiveness for that.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. And I mean, there really isn't any way to bring yourself back from that kind of a abhorrent activity, anyway. But As far as like the JFK files and stuff, I mean, Epstein, I sort of figured, okay, maybe they would bring it out. But JFK, I don't think there's anything more that we're really going to learn about JFK.
No, I don't. And to be honest, I mean, that happened way before I was born. I don't care as much about, because most of the people that are involved with that are probably dead.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, you know, well, whether it's JFK, MLK, or RFK, most of those people are dead.
Yep.
The things that I want to know right now are the 9/11 files.
Right.
I want to know about that. I want to know about Benghazi. I want to know more about Benghazi. The Clinton emails, the Hunter Biden stuff, the Biden crime family, and you know, this Epstein and Diddy list. And honestly, I want to know more about the Patriot Act. You know, who has the American government spied on since 9/11, and why?
Let's be honest, pretty much everybody. I mean,
yeah, it's a scary premise that if you really sit back, and there's two parts of it, and not to scare the hell out of your audience, but with the Patriot Act, all one of these 3-letter organizations has to do is to label you without a warrant, without a judge's order, is label you a domestic terrorist, and they can look at anything that they want. And if you don't know, Israel has this software called Pegasus.
Oh yeah, I've talked about it on the program. Yep.
Yeah, they can send you a text message, and you don't even have to open it.
Nope.
You don't even have to click anything. As soon as your phone receives it, they look at everything that's on your phone, who you're talking to, what you're posting, what you're spending your money on, and don't tell me that our government doesn't have it.
Oh no, there's no way. There's no way. I mean, it's the NSO is the organization, I think, that created that thing. And yeah, it is definitely, I mean, that's why I kind of laugh whenever I heard, you know, the Democrats who were all standing up, Democrat congressmen and you know, senators that were all talking about how Doge getting into files, getting into government files. That's like, all your privacy, Americans' privacy. It's like, where the heck have you been for the last 15, 20 years? There is no privacy anymore.
Yeah. And you're pissed off that that Doge is looking into anything. Let us remember that Elon started PayPal. You gave him your social security and bank account information then. Why are you pissed off now? Well,
and the whole thing about then, like I told my folks here, is that, as far as the social security number, it wasn't even originally intended for use for identification. It warped into identification because it was easy. You already had it. It was supposed to be assigned only to you, which Doge has since found out that that's not the case. And so it turned into an identification piece when it clearly states it on your social security card when you get it to not use it for identification. But yet it's on every single application, every single, you know, whether it's a bank statement, home loan, no matter what, it's all out there.
Right.
So for all of that, it's kind of like, okay, well, man, I have no idea what the heck, you know, what you guys are crying about.
And if you're a veteran like me, like I get an email from the Office of Personnel Management at least once a quarter saying that, hey, just FYI, China hacked our files and your social security number was one of the records that they got.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, it's nothing new.
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny to watch them virtue signal to that whole thing from all of that. So anyway. Yeah. Okay, Palms is I don't know, Palms are us. Are you saying that I'm not paying attention? Anyway, I don't know. Okay. Occasionally they say something in the chat. And of course, usually that's because they're behind by a few seconds anyway. So it might've been something that we were talking about a long time ago. All right. So how do you feel? I mean, obviously you already said you voted for Trump, you'd vote for Trump again. How do you feel his term this time around is going in comparison to the first time around?
Night and day different. I think the big mistake, and he learned from it, the big mistake in 2016 was the extension of the olive branch. Hey, I will get your person and I'll put him here. I'll get this person who's kind of center left and I'll put him there. And what he has learned from that is the left is so far gone. Like they are so far gone. No, the answer is no. We're not extending olive branches. We're not shaking hands. We're not trying to meet in the middle. It's MAGA or go away. And that's what he's done. And that is what the country needs right now.
Right. Absolutely. So, how do you feel about some of the podcasters, the more well-known conservative folks like Graham Allen, like Dan Bongino, Pete Hegseth? I mean, I know he wasn't really a podcaster, but he was on Fox News, good quality people. Don't get me wrong. Not all of them are quality. But what do you think that impact is going to be on the conservative space with them leaving the format?
Oh, huge. Huge. I mean, I said this when we played the video of Graham deciding to go be the social media manager for the Department of Defense. I feel the same way about Dan Bongino and anybody else in our conservative movement that is willing to take a job in the administration. Look, we're a mouthpiece right now. We're a megaphone. And the thing about it is it, if you're a mouthpiece, if you're a megaphone in this movement, that's great. But if your country calls you and ask you to do a service and you turn your country down, well, I mean, you're just a hypocrite at this point. And make no mistake, Graham, Dan Bongino, all these guys, they've taken massive pay cuts because you're not going to become a millionaire working for the United States government. Okay, trust me, I did it for a long time. So they've taken massive pay cuts. So it's service to country, it's honor, integrity, and selfless service. But I've known Graham for a long time, and he asked me, "What do I do?" I said, "Well, you don't have a choice. Like, I mean, you have to go do this because this is what you've worked your entire life to do, to actually go out there and be an actual change agent and make a difference. There's only so much that we can do behind a microphone.
Yeah.
And you have the opportunity to go be a change agent, go do it. Same goes for Pete Hegseth, Dan Bongino, all of those people. So, yeah, they're doing exactly what they should be doing right now.
Yeah. So, I personally, I've always had the same philosophy because of my service. Not that I'm like trying to tout it or anything, but I'm just kind of framing the question here. Because of my service, because I raised my hand to that, took that oath to the Constitution. I agree with you. I kind of feel like if you've done that at least once in your life, that oath never expires.
No, it never does.
It's time there's going to be times throughout your life that you might be asked to serve again. And so that's one of the things that I agree with you. I think that they took the right choice. I mean, Sean Parnell, Graham Allen, Dan Bongino, Pete Hegseth, any of the others that I don't know of at this point, they all decided to put down whatever it was that they were doing because their country called again. And that's just, it's fantastic. I personally think they're going to come out a lot stronger than what they went in when it comes to the podcasting. So if they decide to get back into it, but
yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So Nana, in the Rumble chat here says, we are sad that our podcasters are leaving, but we are happy that they are fighting for the good of the country. So.
Yeah. And I also understand that they're not going to be gone forever.
No.
I mean, they'll be back soon enough. And like what we're trying to do with Dear America is we're just trying to do our best to not run the truck out of gas. I mean, that's just all we're trying to do right now.
Yeah. Just keep the tires on long enough so that they can come back and take over, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. So we're at the hour. I told you I'd be about an hour. So let's go ahead and let's finish up with why don't you tell us again when you're on, the shows that you're on, the times that they're going, and then all of your social media outlets.
Yeah, I'm not really that hard to find. Any social media that you guys have, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok, it is Todd Spears 1776 on all platforms. I'm right here on Rumble. You can catch me at 9 o'clock Eastern time, 8 o'clock God's time on the Dear America Network. My show starts at 3 o'clock God's time, The Hot Seat. Really not hard to find. Come join, call in. Don't be afraid to dial that number, give me a call and talk to me live.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you very much for your time, sir. I do appreciate it. And
absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get a chance to, I don't know, maybe do this again if it was a decent experience for you.
For sure. For sure. Just reach out to me anytime. You've got my email address. I'm always happy to help.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you very much. So folks, that is pretty much it for tonight. For everybody. And I do appreciate your time in all that. Again, keep in mind, what we do as podcasters, and I'm throwing myself into all of this, but what we do as podcasters is the alternative media. We do the alternative, the alternative stuff, the real deal. And a lot of us are not doing this for the love of money or anything else. Okay. We're doing it again because we have a passion. We have a drive to get this done. And so anyway, highly encourage you go and check him out. Again, it's the Hot Seat is his. And then of course, Dear America is the other one that he hangs out with. Go and check them all out. And, so there you go. Thank you, Todd, for your time again. All right, everybody. If you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you do, make sure that once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel, hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget those thumbs up and like buttons across all of my platforms, whether it is YouTube, Facebook, X, and of course the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.